I love video games. They've always been a fun hobby of mine, and as I get older, my respect for them only grows. The way they use their unique medium to craft some of the best experiences I've ever had is just so fascinating to me. And another thing that happened as I got older, I had more money, baby, you know it. So that means no more cool math games, and no more Minnesota Cuke and the coconut apes. I looked this up, this game is real. It was not a dream.
Bananas!
But as I enter the new year, excited for all the games on the horizon, I thought what better way to remember all the games that stuck with me over the past few years than to rank them. So after some brutal decision making, I decided I would make my own top 10 list. And this video was mostly based on my opinion and my experiences. So feel free to comment my most clown take in the comments as well as your own top 10 and favorite games, and I'll be sure to give it a look. And without further ado, let us begin. If I'm being honest, I don't think there's a worse choice I could have started off this list with. While this game is fairly unremarkable from an objective standpoint, this game was my childhood, like through and through. I remember the absolute joy I felt when I beat Bowser, and the absolute shock when I realized that there was a whole other world, which wasn't even unlocked since I didn't have all the stars, which led to a new journey of me finding all the stars in all the previous levels and worlds. When I was still looking for the route to find all the stars most efficiently, I came across my first ever speedrun of a person speedrunning the 100% category for this game. And I was completely shocked that not only could this person beat the game entirely, but do it as quickly as he did, which in turn inspired me to do my own types of speedrunning, where I'd spend one day a week trying to get as good as the game as I could. So every Sunday I would pull up and try to beat the whole game, start to finish, and see how quickly I could get it done. I was so excited to speedrun this game because it felt like a competition between just me and this other random person on the internet, since no one was really speedrunning the game at the time. It wasn't as popular. Now this game, it's just awesome. Every time From Software makes a new IP, they bring the heat, and 2019 Sekiro is absolutely no different. I hate to copy what everyone else has said about the game, but the combat is literally second to none. They mastered the ability of combat to feel like an actual sword fight with the opponent you challenge on the screen, with you needing to use all your tools and knowledge in order to get an edge on the battle and win. Even without the boss fights, the level design and enemies you come across are some of the best they've ever been in the series. I don't remember the mobs being this challenging since the original Dark Souls 1, so it was really fun to go back to that. The visuals are also breathtaking, with each area having its own amazing color palette and visual style. It truly stands out as a masterpiece along with all their other titles. It makes me excited to see more of the experimental type of games that they plan to bring on next. Alright, in full honesty, this game would probably rank a lot higher if I wasn't locked out of my account. But besides that, Minecraft has followed me through my entire gaming life. There's pre-Minecraft DC and post-Minecraft DC. That's how important it is. I know it's a fairly basic pick, but the memories of playing with my friends and making some of my first ever videos with Minecraft are just too fun to me. Minecraft is a game that lives in my memories and that I'll always cherish for all that it's done for me. And you know, the game isn't that bad. I have a hard time getting to some of the other survival games just because of how much there is to keep track of, but with a game like Minecraft, there's enough to keep it complex and interesting, yet never crosses that overwhelming mark. Maybe it's because I've been playing it for a long time that I'm more comfortable with the gameplay, but it's just so fun to just hop on and get started in survival as efficiently as possible. When the mobs come out at night, it feels like you are on a time limit whenever you start a new world, and with the randomly generated seeds, you could end up at any biome, which could make any situation possible. This risk-reward factor makes the gameplay so interesting as you decide, do you get down and settle right away, or do you look for a better spot to build your base? Places like the Nether in the end spice up the gameplay when the overworld gets boring, and the overworld is already the perfect main hub. And of course, the more you explore, the stronger you get, so the gameplay loop is just so refreshing and fun. And that's not even mentioning things outside of the survival mode. Things like learning how to build in creative, or numerous custom maps, or servers to explore. This game is built with unlimited imagination in mind, and it's incredible to have that freedom every once in a while. Yeah, I own a PlayStation. Bloodborne is such an interesting game in From Software's lineup, having everything that makes the Souls games great while also doing something totally different. Having a more gothic-inspired approach is just genius and allows the game to feel fresh in plot, in areas, in combat, and more, while still being the same formula. I know I just gushed about Sekiro's combat being the best, but Bloodborne is not a far second. Faster weapons that can switch to trick versions make every weapon feel unique and makes you have to be accustomed to your best weapon. And of course, the fact that the parry is the gun? You just shoot them and rip out their innards, how cool is that? Now, to be honest, when I first played the game, I was kind of disappointed in the lineup of bosses, since only a handful were required to actually beat the game, and of the ones required, only a few really stood out. However, the DLC smashes away all expectations, with literally every boss in the DLC being a 10 out of 10, with amazing music, amazing areas, and more. Its Lovecraftian take on horror is so unique and is so perfectly captured that made me shaky more frequently than I'd like to admit. If you have a PlayStation, please do not miss up on this classic. Nothing like a good, quirky, Earthbound-inspired RPG, baby. This game actually blows my mind because I actually played it for the first time last year without any spoilers. All I knew is that other people really liked it, and well, now I'm one of them. Toby Fox's ability to write characters feels so personal. Every character feels tangible in their uniqueness that you can only figure out when you interact with them. The combat is so fun with the bullet hell system to dodge, and the almost social sim-like aspect to try and figure out the enemy's personalities to beat them peacefully. The sprite art is also just really great in general, with amazing colors and beautiful pixel art. And of course, the music is phenomenal in every department, and the story is just captivating and told in a way only video games could capture, and I really think that's the aspect that makes it so special. Undertale takes full advantage of the fact that it's a game with the dialogue changing to whatever situation you put yourself in, making the story really feel like you are having an impact on its world, and the game is reacting to your presence. The choices you are given in the game always feel bigger than yourself since there are genuine consequences for choosing the wrong choice. Every aspect that makes video games a unique form of media is perfectly utilized in Undertale, and this makes this game feel truly unique to play. From the moment I first opened this game, it clicked with me. The way the sky and the ground look. Every area in the game could just be explored. As long as you saw it, you could go there. The complex puzzles, the combat, this game does everything so well. It feels like if you leave any stone unturned, you might miss something small or big. The post-apocalyptic setting is so well realized, with it feeling both ancient and futuristic. While this game has no real complex plot, I loved hearing about how Link got separated from his team, with a genuinely heartbreaking backstory that makes his whole journey in this quiet, lonely world feel much more impactful. The physics of the world and the abilities you have make every encounter have so many different outcomes, and because of its fantasy setting, there are so many creative things to explore as you wander the world like dragons in the sky. The world is just so fun, and I love being a part of it. I don't know if any game has hit me harder than this one. It's hard to talk about this game without spoiling, and I'm happy I went into a blind. This game does nearly everything right, with its fantastic characters that feel like real people that have gone through serious hardships, to the fun gameplay with the combat that keeps you engaged for most of its runtime. Its fun and creative areas feels like a child's imagination come to life, with some amazing hand-drawn animation and pixel. I mean, just look at this! The story is one of the most powerful and purposeful stories ever told through video games, utilizing the medium even better than Undertale to help you understand the circumstances of the characters you play as. Its horror had me genuinely terrified, and it didn't need to rely on cheap jump scares to create a genuinely terrifying atmosphere. And if I'm being honest, the music might just be my second favorite video game soundtrack of all time, covering such a wide range of genres and sounds that are fit for every single moment. This game is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, and I urge everyone to give it a chance. Now, before I got into the top 3, I want to quickly bring attention to some other games that I felt like were just shy of the list, or I would feel bad just not to include them. LEGO Indiana Jones, I mean, is honestly one of the first video games I've ever played. I had a little CD of it lying around the house, and I was blown away by the fact that I could experience one of my favorite movies of all time with the toys I played with. People love to shower the complete saga with praise, but LEGO Indiana Jones goes right up there as one of LEGO's classics. Ghost of Tsushima is literally number 11 on this list. This game is beyond phenomenal with its narrative and combat and outstanding visual style. The whole game feels fantastic to play, and the experiences you get as you're thrown into this hopeless situation and struggle to find your place as a samurai, absolutely phenomenal. Subnautica was actually one of the first PC games I got that was not Minecraft. I had to literally run it on the lowest settings on my laptop since it just couldn't handle the game. The underwater areas of the game are filled with such life and personality that every area you explore feels different and beautiful in the most terrifying of ways. The survival elements are simple to follow, the advancements are impactful, and the sea remains just as terrifying as when I first played the game. Dark Souls was actually my second favorite Souls game right before I started working on this list, after replaying Tomb of the Giants and Lost Izalith. I really forgot just how forgettable and painful some of the bosses are in the second half of the game. If I hadn't played these areas less than a month ago and was still in New Londo, this game would honestly be in the top 10. The combat is great and the world and level design is beyond perfect, with music coming in at just the right moments and staying completely silent as you explore this world that feels hopeless in every way. Dark Souls is truly a classic among classics, and I'm so sad I couldn't put it on this list. Doki Doki Literature Club would 100% have made it in the top 10. if only I had played. So when the game first came out, I was terrified of horror games. So when I found out this cutesy little anime game was horror, I believed it with every fiber in my body and avoided it wholly. That was until one of my favorite YouTubers at the time finally picked it up and I got to experience it with him. And while I wish I could have experienced the game for myself, experiencing the game through his video changed how I saw gaming from then on. To be honest, before Doki Doki, I just saw video games as just dumb fun to pass the time, but seeing real stories being told with real horror, real consequences, and real characters that felt so out of your control, I couldn't even tell if it was a game anymore. This game shook me right to my core, and when it was all wrapped up, I couldn't help but feel like a different person afterwards. And it's because of games like this that it got me not just into anime, but Undertale and Amori as well, and some of the games in my top 3 right now. If this ranking video was about the most objectively good game, this would easily be number 1. I dare say this is the most perfectly designed video game of all time. Every boss is a genuine struggle for even the most tested of veterans. Not checking every stone won't just miss an item, but sometimes whole areas and even experiences. The combat is pushed to perfection with all its new elements like posture breaks and ashes of war, as well as a revamped magic system that is an entirely new experience to play the game. The world is an absolute joy to explore as you are never told where to go, but just because of the way the level is designed and the world is designed, that'll give you some of the most memorable gaming experiences you'll ever have. It is the game of my dreams made realized, and yet there are still 2 games that hit me just a bit harder on a personal level.
Wake up, get up there.
Persona 5 Royal is honestly one of the most fascinating games I've ever played. The game balances so many seemingly conflicting genres seamlessly to make a mastercraft of video games. The story is captivating from the moment it begins, with its first 10 hours being genuine perfection. However, this game doesn't just use its long lays to waste your time, but instead to sink deeper and deeper into this world that has so many layers. The characters in this game are so fantastic, and being able to spend genuine time with them allows you to experience some really personal stories as you hear more about each person's life and how they got to the point that they're at. Hanging out with your friends also plays directly into the main gameplay loop of the game, as the more you rank up your confidants, the more abilities they have when you enter the metaverse, an evil world where you fight the distorted desires of distorted people in the real world. The way the dungeons are designed remind me honestly of Dark Souls with the way they interconnect and the gameplay challenges and puzzles they ask you to solve. And in a story sense, since you're fighting the distorted desires of people, the dungeon also reflects just what kind of person they are and gives you a deeper understanding of who you're up against. The combat is super easy to pick up, and mastering it feels so satisfying, using weaknesses to knock enemies down, which rewards you with extra turns, which in turn rewards you with an all-out attack if you can knock out every single enemy, which is just a visual spectacle to behold. And of course, while the graphics aren't anything special, the visual aesthetic they attach to the game makes it feel rich with style and personality. And while Amori has my second favorite video game soundtrack of all time, this is the game that stands above it, with its rich acid jazz that sneaks into every track of the game. This game is amazing and memorable to no end, and because of its large size, you feel like you really have spent time in this world to become accustomed to it. But there's just one game that does everything slightly better. Persona 4 Golden. While I admit Persona 5 has a better visual style, gameplay loop, and music, Persona 4 is honestly better in every other department, and with the ones mentioned, it's just as good. The music has an entirely different rock aesthetic that changes with the weather and interaction. The game is a lot smaller in size, so the game feels way more focused since it takes place in this small town, making every area in this small town feel realized as you interact with the people in it and learn just what kind of place you're staying in. The characters might just be my favorite of any video game ever, with the main cast feeling so incredibly fleshed out, with incredible stories to tell, following their journey through the story, even with the smallest of side characters getting the same level of depth alongside them. While the combat is not nearly fleshed out as Persona 5's, because of its more restrictive combat, it increases the challenge, making you have to actually think about your moves and actions a bit more carefully. And the story is just superb as it follows a group of high schoolers on a murder mystery adventure where they must confront the truth of themselves in order to face the truth of the case. Its main theme of facing yourself is a theme that will stick with me no matter how old I get, and will stick with anyone just as easily. This game, through its narrative and gameplay, is an absolute masterpiece and must play for everyone. And that was my top 10 list. I'm just happy I got to spend a small amount of time gushing about some of the games that have impacted me so much in my life. And thank you so much, dear viewer, for sitting all the way through the video and listening to my opinion. And I'm curious, what games have left a deep impact on you? I'm always looking for more games to experience and try, and hope to give them all a fair chance. Thank you for watching, and have an amazing day.